welcome back to The Director's Garage. I am your host and resident idiot, Michael, and hey, there's still time left to get your name down on that giveaway, so click the link below or up here, wherever it's coming up, and get your name in the comments below that video so that you're entered. Lots of new viewers on the channel right now, so welcome to our special brand of stupid. We do dumb with zeros attached to the end of it. And that certainly is the case today, because we're talking Stellia. $3,000 worth of dumb in a box. This was a purchase I made a few weeks ago, and it's a headphone I have been dying to get in-house. But once it was here, oh my, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. To call this a disappointment is treading lightly. There's still plenty to like about this headphone too, and today we're going to do a deep dive, so let's get it going. Now, I'm going to start out with ergonomics, and the Stellia has that now legendary focal fit and finish. There is gorgeous, gorgeous leather everywhere, from the box with the info pamphlets. If you like your headphone bound in dead animals as much as I do, this headphone has it. Look at the cups, aluminum plating over leather. It's just amazing. This is an inspired design. Now, the Stellia comes with two cables included. You have this shorter cable with a 3.5mm adapter, and then they also give you the adapter to go up to 1/4 inch, though it's comically short. I mean, this will fit your DAP, and that's about it. If you have to go up to an amp or something, you're out of luck. Fortunately, they have this longer XLR. It's a 4-pin Nutric at the end. Now, all of the cables are wound in this beautiful cloth. It looks really, really nice. I have a suspicion that the cable on the inside is a little bit on the cheap side, kind of like an electrical cord kind of cheap, copper. The problem is that this cloth, if you're wearing any kind of shirt with texture on it, and the cloth rubs against the shirt and it's got like a polo or something, you'll get microphonics that resonate through the headphone if it's scratching across some rough material. Now, the fit is fairly typical of a focal headphone. You know, they feel great on the head, maybe a little bit much on the clamping pressure, but that's really standard for almost any focal headphone you're ever going to buy. They all clamp pretty tight. No real issues, though. You can wear this all night long. This is one well-made headphone. Now, I have one suggestion regarding construction. Now, though this looks really beautiful, even sexy to a certain extent, I would have rather seen them adopt this, the Focal Utopia's carbon fiber yoke here, coming off of the head pad. I just think it would have lightened things up a bit on this headphone. It would have made them a little bit more light. They could have even taken the carbon fiber if they wanted to keep the look and sort of painted it or finished it a little bit differently. I just would have rather had carbon fiber instead of the Stellia's aluminum. So it's time now to start digging into the sound properties, and I'm going to start with imaging. And the image on these headphones, they image as well as almost any headphone I've ever owned. Everything comes at you from a specific pinpoint from in the SOUNDSTAGE. You can pick out even the smallest shifts in sound location. This is a total win on the Stellia. Now, moving on to dynamics, and I'm talking about that quietest part of the music to the very loudest part of the music. Very, very impressive on the Stellia. Things pop with great surprise. I'm talking about classical music, jazz, rock. Dynamics shine across all the genres. I don't think it's quite in that top tier of dynamics like the Abyss territory, but this Focal is capable of punch and surprise. One thing that's kind of interesting about the Stellia, in fact, I think it's kind of cool, is when you get to something really complex, these have the ability to really go big. Think like an orchestra swell, one of those large orchestras, or songs that go from delicate to a big sound, like art rock, like the Moody Blues, or some jazz music, like bebop. These things will throw out a big projection. I don't classify this effect as exactly SOUNDSTAGE because it's something different. It's a bit of a dynamic effect, but it's not really about speed or surprise. It's more about like the thickness of the sound. I don't know if this makes sense, but some might call it depth. I note it here because it's a characteristic I noticed on this headphone that might attract some enthusiasts. But when we turn to SOUNDSTAGE, I think that this is really the first blemish in what so far has looked like a very impressive set. The SOUNDSTAGE isn't as wide as a lot of other headphones I've heard, and I don't have all that much experience with closed-back headphones, and I'm going to confess that up front, but I wasn't all that impressed with how wide these got. It's a smaller SOUNDSTAGE than even the Utopia to my ears, which isn't all that big to begin with. So I would say that the SOUNDSTAGE is fairly tight around your head. Not the best. Now, detail. In one word, it's exemplary. The Stellia is a fast headphone. There is no question about that. The leading edge of the note, the decay on the back end of the reverb, this is my favorite part about the Stellia. In this regard, it shares that detail I've come to love in the Utopia and other high-end planers and electrostatics. It's right up there in detail, from the triangles and the cymbal strikes on the percussion to the pick on the string during acoustic music. All the detail is there, and it's impressive. I mentioned reverb, saturated sounds that extend out smoothly with grace. I love the speed on the Stellia. But now it's time to move on to sound structure. And today I'm seriously going to change it up today, for once, because we got to talk bass and treble, and then we're going to get to that mid-range, that disaster of a mid-range. It's where the headphone positively falls apart, at least to my ears. So let's start with that bass, and the low end on this headphone is good. It's even exceptional on some tracks, but it's not exactly overwhelming. There's a decent amount of thump down low, and I've seen reviews that just rave about the Stellia's bass. So I was expecting this impressive bassy bass experience, like it's shock and awe time, or hey, this is like the second coming of the abyss, but it honestly, like in practice, it's just not as big as I expected. Certainly not in a headphone at this price point. Now there's a level of control, and there's certainly detail that many are going to appreciate about the bass, but it left me wanting more. I want to be wowed if I'm dropping this much cash, and with the Stellia it was more like, solid, bruh. Yeah, I did that. I'm sorry. Now the treble on the Stellia is exceptional, and it does impress. There is a tremendous amount of sparkle across the top, and I gotta be honest, it's beautiful. If there's an area where the Stellia knocks it out of the park, it's in the treble. The highs are glorious. There is gobs of detail up top. Nothing is shrill on the top end. Focal nails the tuning on the treble, and it's an area I really can't rave about enough. But then we get to those mids, and I just got to shake my head. Folks, I do not understand. There is a mid-range bump in that 6 to 8K range that destroys the mids on this headphone. And I heard it within like the first 20 seconds of listening, and it never really got better. The mid bump adds this hollow effect on vocals, giving them a grating tone that annoys me to no end. Why Focal decided to tune that into this headphone, I have no idea. Almost anything with vocals is affected by it. I think Elton John was about the only performance that managed to like carve out that section of the frequency range and navigate around it. But nearly everything I put on the headphone had this awful bump that just wrecks the experience. And it's not even limited to vocals. Instrumentals like jazz, and you saw I was listening to Kinda Blue, it can turn disastrous on the Stellia. Horns often occupy that 6 to 8K range, and imagine accentuating a horn which can be harsh to begin with. It's accentuating exactly the wrong frequency. and it just destroys the presentation. I seriously don't comprehend what Focal was going for with this tuning. It's completely lost on me, and spoiler alert, it's the reason I won't give the Stellia a recommendation, as much as it pains me, because I wanted to love this headphone so much. And it cost me a fortune too. You know, I never go into a review wanting to dislike anything. In fact, I go into these reviews hoping to be wowed, hoping to be taken to another spot. I never like it when something fails to get me there. So to say that I was disappointed, especially after popping down my own money on these, yeah, it was bad. It was really disappointing. So let's talk music, because I had to search for stuff that I can say actually worked well on the Stellia. And I did come up with some stuff, but it's all stuff that I don't normally listen to all that much. I'm going to start with EDM, and you know, I'm not a huge EDM listener. I did go to Tidal and I just looked at what tracks they had, and I listened to something by Don Diablo, Francis on My Mind. They EQ the vocals so much and process everything so much in EDM. I didn't really mind the wacky mid-signature on this, because they're not striving for anything near a natural presentation, so you know, getting something that was a little out of sorts sounded perfectly at home in these. Hip-hop, Jay-Z, Missy Elliott, Nas, Kendrick Lamar. I think since there's a little less singing in this genre, and there's like a lot of spoken word, even if it's like spoken to a note, but they kind of speak it. And then you've got this deep bass that kind of runs through the underside of all these songs, and then a beautiful treble, but there's not much going on in between. And I think that that's what makes hip-hop work well with these. The sub bass does come out to play when music emphasizes it, and that's what you know, hip-hop is. So I listened to Drake's Views album, and I took a song like Hotline Bling. It leans into the better nature of what the Stellia can do. And hip-hop is probably the best genre I auditioned on it. And then finally I listened to some classical, and big orchestrations didn't seem to bother me as much on the Stellia. I listened to Mahler's Symphony No. 8. I listened to Mozart String Quartet No. 15. Pictures at an Exhibition, which is kind of a piano piece, a big piano piece. This music didn't bother me as much. And though I'm certain, had I had another headphone sitting right next to it to compare it to A-B it with, I would have probably preferred a more natural headphone. I can say that I did get enjoyment out of classical on the Stellia. But putting my favorite tracks through the Stellia, and because of the death of Charlie Watts, I've been listening with great nostalgia to those big four Stones records. I'm talking about Beggar's Banquet through Exile, and it was just nope, 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 and nope. They are dead wrong on the Stellia, and Bobby Key's horn sounds unnatural. It's a complete miss. And if a $3,000 investment of a headphone, and it pains me to say that, can't let me enjoy my favorite music, I gotta think it's gonna disappoint most of you guys out there too. So the Stellia, with all of its beautiful skin and lovely presentation, is going to get sold to another owner. In fact, it's down in the director's garage sale below if you're interested. Maybe you can get something out of them that I just plain missed. Or perhaps you're willing to spend time EQing away. I do get a lot of comments about how a certain EQ will fix a headphone. But the problem is every EQ is different. My Estelle & Kern SP1000 EQ sounds very, very different from the EQ on, say, my computer software. They behave and sound differently. I don't deny that an EQ can alter the sound significantly, but if I can't give you a point of reference that's usable, it's a waste of time as viewers to the channel. And if you think that all software EQs are alike, take a look at the number of different EQ models they have available to any audio editing app. It's insane. Overall, big picture, look, I'm not going to like everything I hear. And I'm sure there are folks out there who think I'm off my rocker and they see this as an endgame headphone. And they might be right. I mean, I am an idiot. But I have to be truthful and tell you what I hear. I'm sharing my audio journey into these exotics. And this is exotic as it comes. And what I've heard after my time with this headphone makes me want to listen to something else. But fear not, because there is another dumbass purchase right on the heels of the Stellia, and it cost me even more. In fact, it might be what's in this box right here. What's in this box is another crazy flagship. It's one that nobody is going to want to miss, and it's coming next time on The Director's Garage. Can you tell we're doing a bit of a subscription push here? Make sure you're subscribed to The Director's Garage so you don't miss a thing. I appreciate the subs. They do help me out in this rather expensive journey. We are nowhere near profit on this show. It's pathetic, but this box here is not helping that cause at all. I think it's safe to say curiosity killed the wallet. And I also have another Audio 46 blind unboxing. That's coming soon. Give today's episode a thumbs up if you enjoyed spending some time with me, or do the other thing if you think I've got the Stellia all wrong, man. Either way, I'm going to see you before you know it.